There's no aspect in your experience that you control. And if you really want to find power in your life, you want to surrender all the control that you think you have. Because you can cry about reality as much as you want. Be bothered because your ex left you and then hit your head against the pavement for not growing enough as a person. You can gouge your eyes out in the face of all this injustice that is happening in the world and for the feeling that you are too insignificant to make something that truly matters. But all you're doing is fighting against where your life really wants to flow. You desperately want to be in control of your life, so you'd rather hurt yourself than surrender to reality. Your desire to control your life is exactly what is killing your ability to have real power in this world. Because manifestation is bullshit. It's a way for others to feed you a narrative of power and control that is not real. To make you dream about your potential and give you the feeling that by forcing yourself to think differently, you are actually accomplishing anything. But you can't force yourself to think differently. That implies that you would have control over your thoughts. And I'd bet that you've noticed that you don't. Human reality doesn't work this way. You can't make life be how you want it to be just by brute forcing it. Neither by tarot card readings or through astrology. Even philosophy is just a way for your mind to spin in circles and never find real embodied understanding. You want wisdom to be yours, not to carry it around like a coat hanger. You want clarity about how you function, what really makes you tick, what are your values and how do things really work in this world. To live a good life is to understand what's true, not how you wish things would work, but what's actually true for you. The secrets of the universe hide in plain sight, but you need to put your attention where it matters. In this episode, I give you clarity about what is control and what is power, and what does it mean to surrender to reality and become one with it. How do you make life into something playful, something that is a flowing experience instead of a painful grind? How to let go of all this sense of responsibility and burden that you've been carrying on your back. Understanding clearly what these things mean is important, more so than the conceptual idea about what you want to accomplish in life. You want to understand what these things mean to you over the superficial, over the mere idea of these things. You want to feel them as true for you so that you can have an understanding that doesn't lack depth. I can tell you that you have no control in reality and that the only power that you have is how you pay attention to it. But what does it really mean in depth? Like, what am I trying to communicate to you so that you can understand it without any point of doubt? How can you let go? And what is my evidence for the idea that you have no control? Can I prove this to you? By understanding how these things actually work in depth, instead of taking definitions at face value, we stop hitting our head against the pavement floor while hoping that the floor will break at some point. Or that by gouging our eyes out, suddenly all our problems will disappear. You want to really understand what it means to have no control in order to experience it, to not philosophize about determinism and free will and have a belief around these things, but to actually access deeper knowledge. So let's go into it, shall we? To understand what I mean when I say that you have no control, I want you to tell me, what will your next thought be? Try to predict what you're going to think next. Go for it. I'll wait. If you're not deluding yourself, you know that it's impossible. Predicting what you think next is like thinking about what you'll think next. It doesn't make any sense. It's a complete paradox. But then my next question for you is, try to predict what tomorrow will be like for you. Like when you wake up tomorrow, what is it going to be like? Can you envision this with certainty or knowledge? Can you know if tomorrow you wake up well rested? Or if you had a good dream or bad dream, how your vibe is going to be? Will you be motivated or sad when you wake up tomorrow? How is this morning going to affect the rest of your day? Maybe something very unexpected happens that you couldn't ever have imagined. I want you to pay attention how you can't know what's going to happen tomorrow, as much as you can't know what your next thought will be. It doesn't matter if it's in some future tomorrow or 10 seconds from now. You have no idea about the future. Like none. Your brain is a constant prediction-making machine. It tries to predict the future all the time. So you're having a prediction-making machine that navigates the world, and you are inhabiting it. But you never know what you don't know. And then you kind of pretend when the prediction is right, when nothing surprised you, that you knew all along. And in this weird way, you can simulate living in the future. You react and respond to your environment as if things are not surprising all the time. If somebody suddenly called you on your phone, something in your brain would register as a surprise. And then there's this moment that you can tap into of not knowing. This moment of surprise just before registering that somebody's calling you, not knowing who's calling you, where he or she is, and why this particular person is calling you. You have no idea whatsoever what will happen next. This is a very simple example, but look at the depth of both your lack of knowledge and also lack of control. You have no control over who, why, or what you've been called for all of a sudden. It's an external event intruding into your awareness. Attention is being pulled to your phone all of a sudden, and you simply follow the call because you want to know who is on the phone and why. Something external is moving you around. Every moment of your life is like this. You never know what is going to happen next. You pretend that it doesn't surprise you because your mind got used to this dream. Every experience is a new call from the universe, wanting you to see how it is like, what happens next. And you're resisting how it's like. You're not wanting to see what changes, however it changes. Is you pretending you could control who is on the other side of this call. Pretending that you can actually predict what happens next. As a consequence, you suffer. You suffer through uncomfortable moments where you never feel quite comfortable. You feel like you're not in the right place. Always have a certain pressure to perform or be in a certain way, and just being present feels wrong. All future projection is imagination. You move from how things are actually like in the moment to trying to predict the future by imagining a reality that is not there. You're trying to outthink reality. But reality can't be thought away because the present moment can't be thought away. And that's what you hear all the time in spirituality, right? Be more present, be more aware, be here now. But what does this even mean? How am I supposed to be anywhere else? Well, the only way you can be anywhere else is if you imagine to be somewhere else that is not real. You imagine in your head that something is happening that's not actually happening, but you're never really somewhere else. When you imagine that ruminating about a situation is somehow similar to how it is actually going to be like, and then you live in some abstract future because what if you're wrong? That's when you become anxious, when you have fear over the pain that might come next, about the problems that might happen next, about all the stuff that you need to take care of, as if you can take care of these things in the future. But where's the actual power here? Where's where you actually have control? Because if your need for control means that you should have no problems, then I've got bad news for you. Being alive kind of implies that you have problems all the time. Avoiding them isn't making anything go away, and trying to predict them also doesn't change the nature of the problem when it comes. The mind is a very tricky thing here. Have you noticed how when somebody forces you to do something, you want to do it even less? This is how most people relate with themselves. You want to force yourself to think less, force yourself to meditate more, or force yourself to smoke less, or eat healthy, whatever it is. And then what is the response? Maybe you succeed for a short while and then you fall back, and it's way worse. Your mind reasserts control because you forced it to do something it didn't want to do. The prediction machine that your brain is enters into a sort of internal power struggle with itself. You have three types of relationships to yourself. First, you have the authoritarian parent which is the voice inside you that wants to force you into obedience. It hates you if you don't do what it wants. It makes you feel worthless and unloved and needy. It's there to exert control over you by telling you that it's for the best of you. That's to keep you healthy and safe, and this is what you should be doing if you want to be a good person. And then there's the rebellious child, fighting against this voice, self-destructing in the process, acting out to exert its own sovereignty, to prove to the authoritative parent that it is in control and it can hurt itself as much as it wants, as it is free to, just be itself. But the mature adult, which is the third type, is when the authoritarian parent and the rebellious child inside of you make peace, when nobody uses their unhealthy tactics to control another, but both voices are being listened to. As long as you have not made peace with one of these voices within you, you'll keep lashing out. You'll keep being unhappy about what you've done or what you haven't accomplished. Because a lot of people that I've worked with who have found some success in life, like a PhD or some university degree, or just a thriving business, usually it's the authoritarian parent that got them to this position of success. And then they'll find that it is never what they really wanted. This resistant relationship to the inner child is the force that will be projected outward into the world. And now you are rebelling against reality itself. You become cynical, negative, and you kind of hate life or this existence. Or you're generally bored and unsatisfied because there's no livelihood in who you want to be, because it basically has been beaten out of you by yourself. You're not embracing yourself in that you're not honoring all aspects of you. You are seeking for a type of control and power that is not real in the way you are imagining it or wishing it to be. Because in this way, you'll always try to fight one part of you. Because your mind is not a monolith. You want different things at different times. There's no singular thing that just determines everything and you're supposed to align with that. You're not simple this way. This is why you have different voices wanting different things. The desire to be somebody and be perceived in a certain way by others is all vanity. It's always this desire to either impress the rebellious child or the authoritarian parent inside of you. You're never free by any of these material worldly successes, no matter how much money you have or how famous you are. If you are struggling to sit in a room alone and be happy in your own body, you are not free at all. For this to be a reality, you'd have to let go of all control from all these different internal characters. As long as you can do this, you'll always live in the illusion of control, a world that tells you that you're in control and responsible instead of just dreaming. You'll tell yourself that you need to follow up your responsibilities when these responsibilities never have been your own. You really don't have responsibilities at all if you recognize that you have no control. They're incompatible. The illusion of responsibility is actually a very important concept which confuses a lot of people. People have tried to control you by shaming you into things, making you feel embarrassed to move out of line. It's societal conditioning to make you inauthentic, because authenticity threatens other people. Authenticity is what's left when you don't feel any need to be in control of things. And for those who want to control you, it is a direct threat to their power. But if there is no control, then why am I responsible for anything, you might say? Why can't I go around and murder people then? Why can't I stay at home all day and take drugs? If there's no control and I have no power, then I'm free to do whatever I want. Exactly, that's my point. You're free to do whatever you want. You'll suffer the consequences, of course, but you're free to do whatever you want. Nobody's there to tell you this is what freedom is like. Do not have to adhere to any rules. There are no rules, just the consequences of your actions. But you're not responsible in the sense that there's a singular you who is responsible. There's no singular thing that is making you do things. Since you can't predict what is going to happen, the only thing you're able to do is to be yourself, to respond to what is right in front of you in a way that comes natural to you, and then hope for the best. But that's what you're doing all the time, but you're resisting to this, which makes it uncomfortable. If shit hits the fan because you've been authentic and now you're suffering the consequences, well, then it's time to learn and reflect and then maybe adjust. But not from a position of shame because other people have told you that it is wrong, or because you now feel guilty because of some past indoctrination, but because you reasserted your own desires or have questioned yourself about what you really want and figured out, yeah, I should have acted differently. This way you stop paralyzing yourself with decision fatigue before you even made your choice. Fear of consequences is fear of your own ability to make choices. The way you won't regret the choice you make is by paying attention to what it is what you really want to do. Even if you have no control and power in some ultimate sense, you'll feel powerful and in control when your decisions and actions do not depend on what other people tell you to do. When you follow your heart, then for all sense and purpose, you have real power. If you're driven by your own drives without needing the world to be any particular way, when you don't need to be loved by others, when you don't need the world to be kinder, when you don't need to live in a world without pain, then you can actually move through this existence as a sovereign self. Powerful, because there's nothing there to stop how your attention wants to flow. Which brings us to the mechanism of surrender and flow. When you follow through with this understanding, then it leads you to a place where reality is objective. You don't question what you are and what you want. It becomes a fact of being what you like to be. And you don't question what reality throws at you because you see clearly that it's you. When the mind spins in circles trying to figure something out, ask yourself, will thinking about this lead to new information, or will action do? Most of the time, only action will. And when you focus on the nature of action, you can see that this is what reality is like. Reality is a giant action that never stops. It's a movement, a river that flows through all facets of reality that can't be stopped. Trying to stop it is vanity. It's the human thinking that it is somehow separate from objective reality, as if we have the ability to step outside of reality and then look from the outside in and manipulate it somehow. But reality is inside you, and you are inside it. There's no separation, no distinction. It's like a strange paradox that loops itself in. Your experience and reality are always one and the same. You can't ever separate it. All you see is you. Stopping trying to control it makes you perceive everything how it is like, and not what you want to be like. This is how things become free-flowing instead of forced. You receive a calling about what happens next, and then just follow that calling. When you see you have no agency, you dissolve into this flow of what's happening in all its complexity. You become the body acting itself out, without this thinking in your head that tries to manipulate, that thinks that thoughts have any impact on what you actually do. Every moment becomes a surprise and you are curious about what is going to happen. Because when you let go of control, what moves you is curiosity. Since you don't care how things are going to be like, you simply enjoy the show. Life as a movie. That's why manifestation is toxic. It trains your ego to cling to an outcome. As much as manifestation might tell you that you need to be detached and to not need things and that they will just come to you, it won't work through this framing. You are simply lying to yourself about not caring what happens. But as long as you watch videos about manifestation and try to manifest infinite abundance into your life, you're of course very much attached about what is going to happen. You are living in a fantasy land that you desperately want to manifest. And manifesting is a spiritual code word for wanting to control. What is funny is that while telling you all of this, you could, or better say I could effectively argue that I manifested my desired reality. 3 years ago, I envisioned having my YouTube channel and a high-ticket coaching program being peaceful and present with myself. I wrote on my Obsidian Vault back at the time how I wanted my desired reality to be like. And I wrote it as if it was already happening, like in first person. I am da 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 da. And it motivated me, and it made me get my act together to live more healthy and happier, and to actually work towards the goal. Because at this time I didn't really have any meaning in my life or any real purpose, or I didn't really believe in purpose. By writing it down, I made it more real, like something that could or would actually happen. And I got clear about the fact that this is what I wanted. And now I'm here. I never gave up, and it unfolded into, this dream reality of mine. I feel extremely peaceful in it. Now, did I manifest this? Well, let's define it. We can define manifestation as the belief that you can bring specific desires or goals into reality through focused thoughts, beliefs, and positive energy. Essentially, that what you think about consistently will materialize into your life. Under this definition, I did manifest my dream life. And I'm in the process of deepening this manifestation. The only issue is that it wasn't focused thoughts or positive energy that brought me this far. What brought me this far is not thinking so much and honoring all this pessimistic, negative, and dark shit that was in my head. I detached from my desires and dream outcomes by destroying my identity and all sense of meaning that I clinged to. I destroyed whatever aspect of me wanted to accomplish something or control my experience. The part of me that wanted to be high all the time, to be stimulated all the time, that wanted to be successful and be perceived as wise and intelligent. I embraced myself by destroying who I wanted to be. And this didn't happen overnight. I did not wake up one day and then decided to just drop all sense of pretense. It was a slow process of moving towards a direction and caring less and less about the outcome of anything that I did. The more I wanted something, the more I simply stressed myself out. The more paralyzed I became, and the less creative I became, and everything just became worse. And in the present moment, I just felt awful. And I never thought at this time about manifesting and all of the spiritual lingo that people talk to me about nowadays. I only learned that I had to let go of wanting to control the future for the future to align with what I want. And the more I did that, the less I wanted anything at all. When I didn't want anything at all, I became truly present, truly here now, truly satisfied. Now I'll accept whatever reality throws at me, because I'm not under some delusion that I have any control over what reality wants to show me. I see myself as one with my life, like a destiny that is going to unfold, instead of something that I could change. Now each moment happens on its own. And from this paradoxical, weird state, I can tell you the following. To be completely honest with you, I don't care about anything. Yet I'm deeply invested in myself and my life and my well-being. I want to become the most impactful, ambitious, and wealthiest version of me possible, while I genuinely feel like I don't need any of it. Because I know my happiness won't change. It will have little impact to whatever happens next. No matter what I accomplish, it's irrelevant. It's just about who I want to be. And I know that I'll be whatever I'll be, even if my house burns down and this entire world goes to waste. It would be sad. I wouldn't be apathetic about it, but I've surrendered to whatever wants to come. It's not my place for this entire ecosystem to say how it's going to move ahead. I can only observe and respond in respect to my capabilities. It's not in my hands. I'm one pawn in this infinite game of life, and I honestly feel that each movement of my body happens on its own. There's like no fiber in me that thinks that there's some control over my body that is special over anything else. I know that control is an illusion to its core. Everything moves on its own, including my body, including my mind. And to learn this was very scary at first. The deterministic nature of reality freaked me out when I was a teenager. I grappled with this philosophically a ton, always wondering about determinism and free will and arguing about it philosophically for many years, but being intellectually certain that determinism is true. The fact that we have no control and that it's all destined. But it's one thing to believe in it as a concept of deterministic philosophy as like some potential that you can think about. And it's another to notice it in your lived experience all the time. And there the paradox deepens. Because when you let go of the idea of free will and let go of the idea of control, everything moves on its own. And there's no center of or controller, because it's a question of who is in control. Like, what is the thing that wants to exert control over reality? Well, when this dissolves, then there also dissolves this idea of determinism, and the distinction makes no sense. And then, paradoxically enough, you start to feel free. Free to be what you are. You cannot be anything else but what you are. The idea that you could control something or change what the present moment is like is absurd. It comes with realizing that you really just exist in microseconds of experience. When control stops existing, the distinction between control and surrender loses any meaning. Then all you're left to see is freedom. And all you're witnessing is yourself. Wanting to manifest in order to live a specific life, driven by personal validation, a sense of accomplishment, and social posturing is extremely toxic. It will only feed the control freak within you and makes you suffer when things don't go your way. It's like praying to the universe that has no one really to pray to but yourself. But envisioning what your flow wants to be like and believing that you can flow into this direction with determination and work, that's what makes it work. Under this definition, it's all manifestation. Manifestation of a higher power that has no bias or preferences except to figure out what else is possible. And whatever its preferences are pretty much determined by you. To be one with that power, to recognize that this power is you, is the ultimate surrender. The ultimate letting go of what reality is like. To see that what you are truly is nothing. Only experience flowing through you. Surrender is to see that this is so true that you have no other option but sinking into it. Watching you disappear. Disappear in a sea of all that is possible. Actualized in a reality that is true in the moment. Of all that is ahead and in store for you. And the more you pay attention to how you want it to be like and moving into this direction, the more it will be in alignment with you. But what comes is inevitable. There's no other option but to see it through. Your attention is your steering wheel to find what you want to see. Your presence is your home base. You'll never leave. You'll always safe in this home. Flow is your natural state when you stop resisting and start surrendering. Then you'll make decisions from pure clarity. Have relationships that matter to you because they come from a place of authenticity. Stop suffering the resistance of your flow and create the reality that you actually want to create. Not by manifesting, not by getting distracted by other ego games, but by being present to your natural flow and see how everything comes out of nothing. To dive in way deeper into this energy and really embody it more so than intellectually think about it, check out my top link in the description to work with me one-on-one. Peace out.